Welcome, viewing audience. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bilalian Voices in the tradition of Imam W.D. Muhammad. Today's date is September 21st, 2024, and this is episode number 30. Today, we have as special guest Muslim American leader Imam Earl Abdulmalik Mohammed, joined with his representative and special assistant, Imam Ibrahim El-Amin. As always, we greet, as Muslims greet, peace be upon you, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I am your host, Terenzo El-Amin, business owner of El-Amin Priority Distributors.com, distributor of both of Imam Earl Abdulmalik Muhammad's books, and also Imam here in Cincinnati, Ohio, joined with my co-host from Rochester, New York, Imam Hanif Abdul Wahid.
Assalamu
Before we get
alaikum.
into our dynamic discussion with our leader, we would like to give a few announcements before we get into this robust discussion tonight. Imam Earl Abdulmalik Muhammad will be speaking this Sunday, November 24th, 2024, in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. His address is entitled Race to a Manifest Destiny, Islam and the Challenge of America. This is an address to the public of America from Imam Earl Abdulmalik Muhammad, the successive leader of America's indigenous Islamic tradition. It will be held at the iconic Westin Bonaventure Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, California. Doors open at 12 noon Pacific time. Attendance is free and open to the public. Every Sunday, join us for an excellent Islamic studies class taught in the tradition of Muhammad the Prophet with the method of Imam W.D. Muhammad. This class takes place free every Sunday morning. You can go to EAM Speaks and register by going to the tab Islamic Studies class to sign up for this special class. Now what I would like to do is turn the microphone over to the special assistant and representative of Imam Earl Abdulmalik Muhammad, Imam Ibrahim El-Amin.
Assalamu alaikum to our viewing audience, as well as to our special guest, Imam Earl Abdulmalik Muhammad.
Wa alaikum salam.
This is an honor for me to be here, and we appreciate Imam Terenzo and Imam Hanif Abdul Wahid, who are the regular hosts of this program, affording us the opportunity to sort of have a special format with me as a guest host. So we definitely appreciate their extending this opportunity to us. Brother Imam, we have our program, as Imam Terenzo mentioned, announced the program in Los Angeles coming up this weekend. And we are just coming out of a presidential election, one that I think is perhaps safe to say from the standpoint of observers of the United States, observers of this society and its political processes, an election that was rather controversial, perhaps one of the most controversial elections that we have had as a nation, and the implications of the outcome of that election are serious, by all accounts. And the commentary is that America is experiencing a period of decline in morale and belief in the vitality of its founding ideals. We as a community, as you have commented before, are experiencing a decline that you could say is somewhat similar to what the commentators have said about our republic, our democracy. Do you believe that we are seeing in any way signs or opportunities for the conclusion of that decline? And if not, what is necessary to bring about a rising again or a coming out of this decline, both for the United States and for the indigenous Islamic tradition that you lead?
Yeah, praise be to Allah. We are happy and honored to be a participant on this program. I'm a regular viewer of this program, and want to salute and congratulate the hosts for what they're providing to the viewing public, emphasizing our message of peace in the society and justice and faith. So I'm happy to be a participant again here with you. God says in our holy book, the holy book of Muslims, to spend in times of affluence or productivity, and also in times of straitened circumstances and or difficult circumstances, to spend in both situations. And you have experts who predict or attempt to predict the fluctuations in the economy of United States of America and the world too, world economy. And there are always periods of challenging circumstances, and also periods of growth and productivity. This is likened to the seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. And because of the challenge to the Earth's atmosphere, environment of the Earth, they're saying, experts are saying, scientists are saying that some of these seasons are disappearing. That fall, for example, is disappearing. There are more extremes in the climate, and so the seasons that are moderate are disappearing, such as the circumstances for human beings. We're living in a time of extremism in the world, and extreme hot and extreme cold, and extreme behaviors on the part of leadership in the world, not necessarily representing the good interests or the best interests of their constituents, but representing these extremes. Extreme hot and extreme cold. And so we are introduced and encouraged from our holy book to be aware of these, the possibilities of such. Our holy book, in another place, it says that there is a protection against these extremes, extreme winter or extreme summer. And it doesn't, the Quran, it doesn't identify 4 of the seasons. It doesn't identify in these verses from the Quran, in these verses, the moderate seasons. It's identifying the extreme season, period of extremism, or extreme pressures on human beings in society. So gives a remedy. And it says, فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ, worship the Lord of the house. And the emphasis is on the worship of the Lord, and the emphasis is on the condition and the circumstances of the house. So those who want to see remedy for society, we have to focus on that which is protected by the home environment, the sacred home environment, and the focus of the sacred home environment. And the focus of the sacred home environment is the sacred human person. If we stay to our decency and innocence, and serve and feed that innocence, support that innocence, support that decency, we'll find again the comfort of the moderate seasons that balance the extremes. So the believer is never feeling desperate because of the onset of extremes. We know that there's remedy in the worship of God and focus on the sacred life in the home, the sacred life that we hold dear. And that sacred life, as I said, is emphasis on our inherent decency and innocence. It is the salvation for human life. It is the resurrection, the redemption for human life. That God says too in our holy book that your life and your renewal is as a single soul. Focus upon the innocent human person. And that's what we offer in terms of our leadership and also our counsel to America in this difficult circumstances, the difficult circumstances that we're living in, and also to world leadership. That's our commentary.
One of the concerns that has been expressed internationally is that the rhetoric coming from American leadership, past administration, and the incoming one is one which encourages or lends legitimacy to the rise of authoritarian figures, authoritarian dispositions in governments in other places, other parts of the world. would you say that you share that view, or in essence saying that America is responsible in many respects for this rise, or is America more so a victim of a particular uh, period, if you will, in human history?
Movement, they're trends, there are trends in society. And we can't say that one particular nation is responsible for that trend, or that they are victimized by that trend. Small countries or smaller nations will produce figures, personalities that have an influence on the whole world. Vietnam is a small country, and in terms of measuring its productivity against the superpowers, small in productivity, but it created difficult circumstances for the superpowers. And its leader, in his thinking and his focus, challenged the big powers. So I can't say that America is responsible or America is victimized necessarily. America is involved in the rise of authoritarian rule on the earth. And it has favored, in this election, a person who has made it very clear that he sees the office of President of the United States as in the spirit and temperament of authoritarian power. In history, there have been benevolent dictators. There have been honorable authoritarian rulers. And there have been tyrannical authoritarian rulers. So authoritarianism in and of itself is not the issue, and it's not the culprit. The concern is the attention that world leadership gives to the dignity of human life. And if that is in focus, there are circumstances that would favor rulers or leaders who have that as a concern and attempt to regiment their societies to focus that as a concern. And then there are also those that would oppose such. They don't want to have, those leaders don't want to see the common population of human beings invested in or empowered. These movements weigh against and move against and move in line with sometimes the flow of human progress, and sometimes oppose the flow of human progress. So, the Muslim world leadership, it has contributed to the discussion of abuses of authoritarian power. I don't see not one leader in the Muslim world that is in an authoritarian position like monarchies. Monarchies are authoritarian rule. That is ruling with the standard of Muhammad the Prophet. And so, because of that neglect, and you can say in some cases, abandonment of Muhammad the Prophet's leadership legacy and influence, Muslim world leadership is also responsible for the abuses and the argument to favor oppressive rule on the earth. So is America a victim of that? Yes, in some cases. Is America also one that has influenced the rise of such leaders in the world? Yes, absolutely. So the United States of America and American citizens are not separated from the dilemmas that are faced, that populations in the earth or in lesser developed nations are also troubled by. Citizens of the United States of America are now troubled by such forces as nations that we don't consider to be as economically developed or socially developed as we are. The whole planet is under a wave or period of extreme difficulty. And again, you know, our contribution to the discussion is not weighed down with the complexity of political maneuvering. Our contribution to the discussion is focused on where God intends for human life to go. What is the destiny for human life? We are one human creation, and there must be emphasis on that as a fact of our nature and a fact of our destiny. And that responsibility, carrying that responsibility as a message in the world, belongs to the following of Muhammad the Prophet. And it belongs to the following of all of the messengers of God and their those that are identifying with those messengers. Jesus Christ following the following of Moses and all of the messengers of God that are mentioned in sacred scripture. We all have the same obligation to link by way of God's guidance the purpose for which God created the first human to that first human's intended destiny. And that is a just balance and respect for the productive nature of human life, and to guarantee respect for that productive nature. That's the heaviest and most important obligation on our work as a Muslim community in America, and as an influence, hopefully, on Muslim world leadership conscience.
You mentioned justice, and in previous addresses that you've made in different cities throughout the United States, you've mentioned this concept of the just order. And at the conclusion of your speech in Newark, for Muslim American Leadership Day this past October, you made mention of Ms. Harris, Ms. Kamala Harris, her campaign at the time, which was still ongoing, and your support for her, and that symbolized in her candidacy is an inclination toward justice. And what we have seen in the election results has been characterized as a increasing diversity for Mr. Trump, who won, that he had a more diverse base or more diverse group of diverse number of persons supporting him than previous Republican candidates have, African Americans, Hispanics. What do you say of the fact that you now have populations in the United States that have been associated with the trouble of oppressive conditions here in the United States supporting his candidacy? And in one instance, we unfortunately, this is public, members of or students in our institutions publicly identifying with our Claire Mohammed school system, voicing support for Mr. Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware of that. I have different view of what that means. On one hand, I interpret the support of Mr. Trump by African American individuals and Arab American individuals and women, Latino, the different ethnic groups in America, as a commentary on a general discontent of the traditional handling of troubles and issues in society by government. That the vote for Trump is not necessarily considering his personality, but it's a vote against the general norm of how government business is conducted on behalf of the people. And he represents such an extreme change or potential change to those habits in government that satisfy the desire in that population of people that voted for him that wouldn't normally vote for a Republican candidate, the desire in them to see or to overturn the established habits of government and their rule. And they saw him as the representative of that necessary change or overturning, I guess you could say. That's one view. And I think many of the government political philosophers in this country, I think that they would agree with that assessment, that it's not necessarily a support of him as much as it is the feeling that the prevailing order has to be overturned in the way that it governs the behavior of government. The other view that I have is that particularly when it comes to the African American Muslim community, commentary on its own leadership. Especially young people, are not satisfied that our identity is represented in the world properly. And support for him is a kind of extreme cry or wailing. Excuse me. Extreme cry out for change in our own institutions and leadership. And because they don't have the reach or influence to change the circumstances that are at hand in their own social environments, they reach to an authority that is a prevailing authority in hopes that that authority will have influence in their immediate environments to affect change. So it's a kind of desperation. You know, what happens with person when they are complaining to someone in their immediate environment and that person is not responding to their complaint, then they might cry out or wail, hoping that someone beyond that person that they're appealing to will hear them. There's a cry out. And so I think that that's what we're witnessing as well. Also, it's an expression of irresponsibility, and it's also an expression of confusion. So all of these things are working, in my opinion, in the psyche of the American people. And when you're talking more specifically about the African American Muslim community, these concerns are also existing in their spirit. Feelings of extreme desperation, betrayal, and looking for circumstances to support that will replace what has been missing in their own social environment. So, I listened to a couple of young men who gave some commentary on the reason why they would support Trump, and it rang to me as a commentary and condemnation of the inability of who they are as represented in leadership to have any effectual change on the society. So an expression of desperation. And desperation is not a desirable emotion for people of faith. We don't embrace desperation. So I also interpret it as outside of the character of our tradition of leadership, our tradition of Islamic thought and practice. And depending on where it's coming from and how it has been influenced, I also see it as a betrayal. Not necessarily in the individuals that express that, but the reasons that they have felt pressured to express that. So I interpret a support for Trump coming from the Muslim African American community to be a commentary on the failure of Muslim African American leadership.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot in that answer, brother, man. Thank you. But there's a lot that we want to get in here, but we have a limited amount of time. But much of what you've said, in terms of justice, the desperation that certain elements of our population are feeling. I'm speaking of the population of the United States, but also, I guess, more closer to home, the Muslim African American community. I'm thinking also too, all of these things brought to mind to me the condition of the Palestinian people and the ongoing war in Gaza. And you have been quite forceful in terms of your support for the Palestinian determination, and very clear in your condemning of the leadership that reason to conduct the attack that they did against innocent Israeli civilians, but also you've condemned the response of the Israeli Zionist government in their collective punishment and persecution of the Palestinian people. And this is something that is a tradition in our association, the support of the Palestinian people. Imam W.D. Mohammed voiced that, and you're continuing in representation of his leadership with the insights and position that you've made public and been consistent about. I want to ask this because I've seen it as a criticism coming in African American Muslim circles that we shouldn't give too much attention to those circumstances there. We have problems in the ghettos here or the inner cities here in America where our people are not, or the picture that's presented is that our people are facing oppression here and they have things that we need to focus on here before we give too much attention to the Middle East or the Palestinian circumstance. And even before we get to that point, there's oppressive circumstances in Africa that we should be addressing before we lend our voice to the circumstances that the Palestinians are facing. How would you respond to that criticism, and how do we obviously have to find balance in terms of our own responsibilities, but also being participants in the global picture of Muslims and the global representation of Muhammad the Prophet's leadership in addressing these oppressive circumstances?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, we're not soundbite people, where we have a ready-made quip to respond to very real troubles in the world. We might have some very skilled media savvy preachers who have rehearsed responses to these issues in the world, but fall short of the moral character and fiber necessary to maintain the just struggle against oppressive forces and really contribute to the weakening of the argument in defense of just order and freedom of conscience and respect for human innocence, respect for human decency, respect for the role of decency in the establishment of the human person. So our approach is more thoughtful and measured. And when we look at the situation with the Palestinian people, we have in front of us a people that are associated with one of the sacred shrines of Islam. And their leadership is charged with the responsibility as the caretakers of that shrine, which means that they're associated with the meaning of the shrine. And what is the meaning of the shrine is the question. What is the significance of the shrine? In the estimation of Islamic society and vision for Islamic society, it is the setting of Prophet Muhammad's ascension, where at the conclusion of that ascension, he concluded that the emphasis of Islamic message, according to and with the support of God's divine guidance, is the establishment of society in a just picture and caretaking spirit of the human person. So in his ascension, what is focused is leadership characteristics that must form in order to guarantee support for the productivity and progress of human life in a just order. The Palestinian people, as caretakers of that shrine, are associated with that process. And an assault on them is an assault on that process. So that process is a property belonging to all human communities on this earth. It's not just associated with the Palestinian people as a people themselves. It's associated with the struggle, moral struggle toward realizing an establishment for the human person that exists as a property in the nature of every human individual and every human community. So when we address or we focus the Palestinian issue, we're not just focusing that particular concern, though that particular concern is weighty in the balance. We're also focusing the struggle, the just struggle of human life for its determination as God intended it to be realized and succeeded wherever that struggle exists on the earth. In the soul of the African American people is a capacity, a reservoir to carry that concern and to serve that concern, to produce for that concern. The African American people are, in my estimation, the universal symbol of a logic, a moral logic that comes into the consciousness of an oppressed people to address conditions of their oppression and to address the argument against their humanity by their oppressors. We belong to a sacred movement in the human soul for progress that God created the circumstances for and the remedy and the answer for the success of that argument. Therefore, it would be necessary for Muslim leadership coming from us to understand, both on a fundamental level and also on a very complex and high level, the importance of the struggle of the Palestinian people. The International Court of Justice, I think it's called, or I can't think of the exact name of it, but it issued arrest warrants for the leader of Israel and the the defense head for Israeli government. It issued an arrest warrant for them today or yesterday. And also it issued an arrest warrant for the present leader of Hamas. So what is it saying? It's saying that there is, in their estimation, an equivalent of the leadership of Hamas and the leadership of the Israeli government. In what? Where is the equivalent? It is in the disrespect for the human life, disrespect for human worth. And it is a commentary on leadership that, though it may enjoy the attention and the support of the prevailing world leadership, it still is immoral. And so we're not, the position that I have taken, that we take, we're not the only ones having that awareness. And we're not the only ones pursuing the ends of that awareness. The success of the Palestinian determination is a moral argument to establish any oppressed people. And so therefore, any leader or society, any leadership or society that focuses the struggle of the Palestinian people for its just determinations is an example for its own people, and also a universal example for the movement that supports the interests and the justice of oppressed souls on the earth. We can't claim to have a moral conscience and not put in focus the Palestinian struggle. In this time, with the awareness of every society on the earth that has been shaped by a relationship with the Lord and Creator, has been shaped in character, personality, disposition of the nation where they inhabit, Christian, Jewish, Muslim. There's no way, with those major influences that have shaped mankind for its moral disposition and attitudes, more than any other ideas in the history of humanity, that wouldn't appreciate and understand the gravity of the Palestinian struggle. It commands the attention of the moral conscience of all of the major religions on this earth. And in the attention that's given to it is commentary on the just struggle of oppressed peoples anywhere on the earth.
Thank you, Brother Imam. There's we only have a few moments left, so I don't want to take up all of the questioning time that we have. Imam Terenzo, Imam Hanif, do you have anything that you'd like to ask the Imam in these final moments? There was a lot in that answer that we could go on and discuss, but I imagine that you'll be sharing some of that this Sunday in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Thank you for being on tonight, Imam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother
It's
Imam.
the international criminal courts that are
Yes.
issuing these warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu. I just wanted to go back to the authoritative rule that comes out as an ideal. Not so much countries that are ruled by that, like North Korea, China, places like that. It's the ideal of having this as an ideal in a democratic society or country, as it is in Venezuela, as it's being talked about here. The Supreme Court has given the president a lot of leeway to do a whole lot of things, you know? So that is an ideal. And I think you squared away with it tonight in terms of your answer, which is good. But that would be my concern more than anything else, is that where you hold open and free elections, and there's a democratic process to get you elected, and then you come in with the authoritarian and ideal to rule against your constitution or your country's values. That's becoming a problem around the world. So that was the state of that. But one thing that I did want to ask in terms of this Israeli thing, I don't know how you see it in terms of all of the Israeli people are basically against this here. They don't like the ideal that the leader that they have right now, he gets up each and every day and starts his lawnmower up and continues just to cut the grass. And this is what he's going to do or continue to do with no nothing in sight to end this, to negotiate with it. What do you think that the government that is coming in, the administration that is coming in, what do you think that their position would be as they come in? Do you think that they could just stand by and just continue to allow this to happen without any negotiations or ceasefire or anything else like that?
So, you know, in the interactions of governments is a lot of political complexity. And we can't know all of the inner workings between these governments.
Mm-hmm.
But the requirement the moral obligation is to register the just argument of any innocent human being.
Mhm.
America has positioned itself historically in representation, at least in its philosophy, its democratic order, and the philosophy that supports that democratic order, that it must hear, it must adjudicate, it must find a just answer to any human voice that is crying out for respect and focus on its inherent honor. America has positioned itself as a democratic order supporting those kind of values. So there is justification to put pressure on our government to honor those values. Now, what we are seeing is that those persons being put in place to address that question are favoring Israeli government policy. And this is a continuation of the Trump presidency,
Mhm.
the first Trump presidency, where the embassy of Israel was moved from one city to Jerusalem.
Right.
And so where are we to find or how are we to interpret what we're looking at aside from the political discourse that has its complexity? Because the people who are making those decisions will say that the reasons for those decisions have political explanations. But we can look further than that. We can look deeper than that. And I would say that the answer for understanding these relationships and the decisions that are being made is not in the political discourse, but it's in the plan of one particular group to influence and shape the opinion toward human beings that is associated with the strategy of the enemy of human beings. And that strategy is found in Scripture. It's exposed and it is addressed in Scripture. And students of the Old Testament and New Testament and students of the Holy Quran can come to a fair conclusion about what we're looking at. It's not a secret that there is a strategy on the part of a group that's associated with the thinking of the enemy of human beings to have all powerful governments bow to its authority. It's not a secret. It's exposed in the sacred scriptures. So What counsel can we give? And what is our obligation in these circumstances? The answer to that question is the purpose of the Muslim African American conscience. No people on this earth have been better prepared by circumstances of their own history than the Muslim African American people to focus the responsibility of American philosophy, democratic order, and power in the world, and also the betrayal of those values, the misrepresentation of those values as an oppressive force in the American environment itself, as it has influenced the behavior of nations around the world. And also in that context and in that observational reality, the failure of Muslim world leadership to embrace Mohammed the Prophet's leadership and influence. The synergy of those dynamics as they are shaping the world presently with the Palestinian issue in focus is the moral, ethical obligation and responsibility of Muslim African American leadership messaging. And so, what is the simple answer? Doesn't have to be complicated. The simple answer is the salvation for man on this earth is attention and promotion of human innocence. If you're an innocent person before God, standing in your human character and human dignity, making a demand for your government in America to respect your dignity as a human person and the connection to that recognition to all struggles on the earth, that overturns unjust authoritarian rule. No need for believers in God to feel desperation. It is the property of the first human and the purpose for which God created the first human to establish themselves in a social destiny. And that social destiny has as its foundation a salute to human innocence. That Adam was an innocent creation, manipulated by circumstances in the world, but eventually came to an appreciation for what is the value of his relationship with his creator by way of divine guidance. And because of that, is produced into the world consciousness, the consciousness of Jesus Christ, the consciousness of Moses, the consciousness of Muhammad the Prophet. We're the representatives of that in this time.
What does it say then that you're the only African American Muslim leader, Muslim African American leader saying this?
Well, I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true. But what I can say is this, that if you want to know the value and the importance of Elijah Muhammad and the value and importance of his son, Wallace D. Muhammad, it's being expressed into the world right now.
Thank you, Brother Imam, for taking the time out to be with us this evening. As we mentioned, earlier, the Imam will be giving a public address, the first public address that he's given on the West Coast this Sunday at the iconic Westin Bonaventure Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. The attendance is free, open to the public, so we invite everyone to join us and hear the message of freedom, justice, and equality. It will also be live streamed on YouTube and Facebook at EAM Speaks. You can go to EAM Speaks or MuslimAmericanMinistry.com, and the link is the YouTube link is up, and you can watch it there as well. And so we look forward to your physical presence if you're in the Los Angeles or greater Los Angeles area, and also your digital presence if you're not. Praise be to Allah. Imam Terenzo, is there anything else that we would want to add before we go out? Also, again, let me express my appreciation to you and Imam Hanif for extending me the opportunity to be a guest host this evening, especially on the shortly before our program. It helps us to get the word out and make as many people aware as possible.
We'd like to say thank you to our Imam for coming on Bilalian Voices in the tradition of Imam W.D. Muhammad. And we want to bring to the attention of the people that this is our 30th episode. And I thought special.
Congratulations.
30th episode. And our leader is on here today. And this is how it came about. And I can only say that's a lot. So we thank you, Imam. We thank you, Imam Ibrahim El-Amin, for joining us. At this point, we would like to conclude this episode of Bilalian Voices in the tradition of Imam W.D. Muhammad with Imam W.D. Muhammad's prayer for purification and purpose. O Allah, we cannot manage this life for ourselves, not without you. Please make our life what you would want it to be, what you prefer it to be. Do not allow us to act on our own. Help us to act only in obedience to you. We hear you, we obey you, we look to you for forgiveness, our Lord, and to you is our